Hello. I am back with another episode. So today I want to talk to you about something that seems to be kind of a simple conversation because I see this everywhere on social media nowadays. And if you are someone that wants to learn more about harnessing the hormones and taking care of your hormones, I'm pretty sure you came across this word, but I am not sure if you really understand what it means. So what does hormone balance mean? This is the question that I want to answer to you today, and really what it means when hormones are imbalanced. Now, before we start, will you do me a favor and subscribe to my channel? It really helps me get to reach more women who can learn from these conversations. And if you learn something new at the end of each episode, I'm sure there are so many other women that can benefit from these conversations. Now, before I forget, there is a giveaway, right? If you've been following my podcast, you know that there's a giveaway. So stay till the end if you want to learn how to join the contest. So today it will be very simple, but I hope it's going to be a very important conversation because I think it is such a basic concept that it is kind of skipped over a lot. And the basics of the foundational stuff, that's really important because once you understand this, things will be a lot more clear for you. And so instead of jumping into balancing different hormones, random hormones that you found someone on Instagram talking about, you need first to understand the basics of it. And you will see, this is exactly what this podcast and my objective for this channel is. I want to explain to you in the most simple way all these concepts that sometimes feel like you have to do a lot of research to fully understand them. There's a lot of information out there that you can get from Google, from social media accounts, or even on my Instagram as well, or if you want to read research papers. And so just because you read something, it really doesn't mean that you get it immediately. And for sure, it's not going to mean that you will be able to implement it and apply it in your day immediately, right? That's why having someone explaining it to you works really well, and it works a lot better. I remember that while I was getting my certification as a hormone coach, I was reading, I've actually been reading so many materials and journals and books on hormones and on the female body, but all that information, it really felt just that, information. I really needed someone to explain things to me in a structured way so I could turn that information into knowledge. Otherwise, you just read bits and pieces here and there. You listen to a podcast, you read something on the internet, and you cannot really connect them to help you build the whole story. And a lot of the times you also get lost in all the details because when you are a beginner at something, when it's a new topic that you want now to explore, it really feels like every new piece of information is important. And you don't know how to prioritize information in such a way that it will make information stick. That's why I'm here. I want to make things stick for you. So by the end of our talk, I want you to understand what it means to have hormonal balance as a woman and what it means to have hormonal balance as a woman with a menstrual cycle. So basically, in general, when we are talking about hormone balance, we are referring to the two main sex hormones that we often talk about on this channel. Those are estrogen and progesterone. We talked about them briefly in episode 3, where I gave you, which I hope it is, the simplest explanation of what the menstrual cycle is. There are many other hormones that impact all the different functions in your body. And in fact, estrogen and progesterone, we talk about them a lot when it comes to women's hormones. And you're going to hear me talking about them throughout this podcast quite a lot. But they are not even the queens of hormone health. They are, of course, extremely important when it comes to menstrual cycle, but they are being controlled or impacted by other hormones. And the two queens, the two hormones that impact your menstrual cycle and these other two hormones are insulin and cortisol. So insulin has to do with blood sugar, and cortisol is your stress hormone. So these two hormones are the ones that trickle down and affect all the other hormones that are going on in your body. So in the menstrual cycle, there are many other hormones that are rising and falling. But today, we are mainly going to talk about estrogen and progesterone. Because for you to understand what hormonal balance means for you as a woman with a menstrual cycle, you need to understand the balance between estrogen and progesterone, the ratio between estrogen and progesterone. That's it. Let's walk again through the menstrual cycle. So I'll explain to you what a healthy, balanced menstrual cycle looks like. So we start off with menstruation. That's when both hormones are very low. And as you move through the cycle, your body is starting to prepare to ovulate. So estrogen is going to begin to rise. Estrogen will peak just before ovulation. And all this time, progesterone, the other hormone, is going to stay very low. So right after ovulation, estrogen takes a steep drop, and the follicle, or you can call it the capsule that was housing the egg that was just released at ovulation, is now going to turn into a temporary gland that we call corpus luteum. And this is the gland that is going to then produce progesterone. So this is the moment when progesterone will start to rise after we have this gland that is going to produce it. So around mid-luteal phase, estrogen is rising a bit, but progesterone is going to be the dominant hormone. And progesterone will remain the dominant hormone until just before the start of your next period. So basically what I want you to understand here is that in the first part of your cycle, called the follicular phase, estrogen is the dominant hormone, meaning that there is more estrogen in the body than there is progesterone. And it peaks just before ovulation, and then it drops dramatically, making room for progesterone. So then in the second part of your cycle, which is the luteal phase, progesterone wants to be the dominant hormone, okay? So the rise and fall of these hormones and the changes in the dominant hormone will play a huge role. And this is exactly what's really important for your cycle and for your health. So we want to make sure that not only are these two hormones rising and falling correctly, but we need to make sure that you're ovulating to be able to produce progesterone. And we also want to make sure that the ratio between the two hormones is the one, the correct one, is what we want it to be. So that's what I mean when we are talking about balanced hormones, is really the ratio between estrogen and progesterone. Now, this word that you just heard me mentioning, dominant, is something that keeps coming back here on this channel. You're gonna hear it in anyone who talks about the menstrual cycle will mainly use this word. But this word can be used in a different context, which might cause a bit of a confusion. You might have heard, I'm pretty sure you did, if you follow me on Instagram and again on other channels, I'm pretty sure you came across the word estrogen dominance. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, I'm going to tell you this and then you're going to tell me if it's a good or a bad thing. Estrogen dominance is something that is causing symptoms in the body, such as irregular periods, heavy periods, decreased sex drive, mood changes, a worsened PMS, and even PCOS. So if it's causing discomfort, if it's giving you symptoms that are not allowing you to be at your best, it's not a good thing. So estrogen dominance does not refer to that part in your cycle when during follicular phase when estrogen is leading, when estrogen is dominant. Estrogen dominance means that there is too much estrogen in your body compared to progesterone. So that ratio between the hormones is off. So we always refer to that ratio between hormones, okay? So estrogen dominance might not necessarily mean that your body is producing too much estrogen. It could also be it could be one of the reasons why you have estrogen dominance, but it's not the only one. It could also mean that your body is not metabolizing or detoxifying estrogen as well as it should be. Your liver might not be removing all the estrogen from your body. So those leftovers of estrogen are now messing up with that ratio between estrogen and progesterone. Does it make sense? So those are two reasons. Now, it could also mean that, your estrogen levels are fine, but progesterone is very low. So maybe it's not necessarily that you have a lot of estrogen in the body, but it is an estrogen dominance because that ratio between progesterone and estrogen is off. You have too much estrogen in comparison to progesterone. Okay, so we should be clear at least on one thing. You should understand what we mean by hormone balance, right? Is that relationship between estrogen and progesterone. Now, I'd like us to talk a bit more about this thing, the estrogen dominance, because this is one area where we could all work on. And I'd like you to better understand what can cause it and how you can prevent it from happening again. Or if you don't show any symptoms now, you can at least prevent it from happening in future cycles. So, as I mentioned, sometimes estrogen dominance could mean that indeed you're making too much estrogen in the body. And there are several reasons why you might be producing too much estrogen. So, there are a few possibilities. One, maybe you have some excess weight. Maybe you carry too much weight. So fat cells produce estrogen. So carrying that extra weight can actually lead you to having increased levels of estrogen. Or two, it could be that you have some blood sugar issues. I mean, if your insulin levels are out of balance, it can affect your hormones, including estrogen. And as I mentioned before, insulin is one of those queen hormones. So it plays an important role in hormone regulation. It could also mean that you might need to pay more attention to your gut health. Because there is this part of your gut microbiome, which is called the estrobolome, that impacts estrogen production and metabolism. This is a relatively new area of research, but it's really crucial in understanding hormone balance, and especially estrogen balance. Then it could also be that you might have some detoxification issues. So your body might not be producing your body might be producing a normal amount of estrogen, but it's not metabolized. It's not detoxified properly. So liver estrogen is being metabolized through the liver, and so probably there is something going on there that doesn't allow your liver to remove the excess of estrogen from the body. So this could be related to gut health or issues with your liver detox pathways. So when you see signs of possible estrogen dominance, the ones that I just mentioned previously, you might want to consider working on your weight, getting your blood sugars in check, working on your gut health, and of course on your detoxification. These are recurring themes that I'm going to be talking about a lot on this podcast, and they're actually the core of the work that I do with my clients in all the coaching programs that I designed. Putting your lifestyle back on track and improving all of these areas not only will improve your estrogen and progesterone ratio, but should be actually your guiding principles when it comes to your lifestyle, your health. So your body might be producing too much estrogen, but there could be some other times when your body is not producing enough progesterone during that luteal phase. So then again, the ratio is off. So when this happens, you might want to focus more on supporting your body to produce enough progesterone. And this can be done by, first of all, removing the stressors from your life. Remember how I told you to consider the two queen hormones? One was insulin and the other one was cortisol. And in this case, the more stress you have going on, especially during the luteal phase, the less progesterone you're going to have in the body. So especially during that week when progesterone is supposed to peak. So if you have 28-day cycle, then progesterone would try to peak usually around day 21. So that last week, just before you get your next period, try to make a conscious effort to remove or reduce the stressors from your life. During that time, you want to ensure that you don't overdo it. Be more indulgent with yourself when it comes to physical activity, the workouts that you do, the stressful situations at work, at home, in relationships. This is the time when you need to find that extra time for yourself. You need to find time to relax, sleep in if you can. In fact, during this time, our bodies, the female bodies, need about 20 to 40 minutes extra sleep every single night. And then, of course, we have diet, which is equally important. And I could speak hours. I could spend one entire episode just talking about diet during luteal phase. Maybe that's a good idea actually for a next episode. But what I want you to remember for now is during luteal, you could start to increase vitamin C intake and magnesium. because this can help you and can help your body produce that progesterone that it needs. I always support a food first approach before going to any supplementation. So diet first, and then think of any supplementation you could possibly think of. So, okay, you might be asking, okay, Theo, then what do I do next, right? What should I start working on? Is it going to be first the stress management part, or is it going to be the diet? Should I take care of my blood sugar levels? Like, where do I start? Now, I understand that this can feel a bit overwhelming at first, especially because there are so many areas that you could start working on. But the answer is this. It's nature, right? It's your own body. It's all interconnected. So once you start working on one thing, it's going to help you on other things. So instead of waiting to find and craft that perfectly designed plan for yourself, just to start changing something in your lifestyle, I say this, just start. Start somewhere. One decision is going to take you in the right way. It's going to take you in the right direction, and it will take you to the next good decision. And once you start working on something, it will take you to the next. So just start one step at a time, because there's no right or wrong path here. But there is one main principle. You have to build healthy habits that will last you a lifetime. You don't want to jump into revamping your lifestyle all of a sudden. You don't want to cut sugar cold turkey. You don't want to stop drinking caffeine cold turkey. You don't want to stop doing all the workouts that you enjoy doing just because you heard that they might be stressing out your body. You have to do it gradually. Think that you have a whole life ahead of you, and you want to change your lifestyle in a way that is going to last. There's really no rush. Replacing old habits with new ones is going to take time, and it takes a mindset shift in the first place. I'm not gonna leave you hanging here. I want to give you a next step because I think that's important. I feel like you are excited to make a change in your life and you want to start doing something now. While it might not be like a super clear-cut protocol that you have to follow to work on regulating your cycle, at least I can help you figure out what the next step will be. And to do that, maybe you guessed what you have to do. It's tracking your menstrual cycle. Because your body is giving you this free report card every single cycle. Your body is telling you through the symptoms that it shows, through this language, this internal language. It's basically giving you free information, free data that it's here for you to take. The challenge that we have as women is that we don't really speak this language. And you don't understand this language because you are disconnected. And you don't understand how to interpret this language, which is the language of your own body. So you need to start tracking your cycle. And that's how you're going to get to the next step. You first need to analyze, and you have first to record some data about your cycle and all this data that your body is giving you on a daily basis. And then you're going to be able to define for yourself the areas that they're going to need some more attention from you. And I'm going to explain in the next episode exactly how to do it, so that you can understand exactly how to collect and interpret the data that your body is giving you. So I'm going to do that in the very next episode. So stay tuned. So that's all for today. As I told you at the very beginning of this episode, I do have a gift for you. 2 lucky winners who subscribe and leave a written review of the show on the platform where you're listening or you're watching this will win a spot in my next group coaching program. You can learn more about the program on thesyncway.com/coaching and of course on my Instagram page. I will be announcing the winners in an upcoming episode. And I really hope you enjoyed our conversation today. If you did, please like and subscribe to my channel. It helps me reach more women who can learn from this type of conversations. And if you learned something new today, please share it with another woman in your life who can learn from these conversations. I'll see you next time.